20 Rules of Cosplay Convention Etiquette. Being in a fandom can be an awesome thing, but for some reason, we all forget to be decent to each other or exercise some common sense now and then. Have you ever attended a cosplay convention? See how many of these rules of etiquette you agree on or can relate to. 20. Don't touch. We mean this in the common way, of course. Like how you can't just go and grab random people in regular situations. The same goes for any kind of fan convention, and this doesn't just apply to somebody else's body in general, but also in regards to their costume. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest fan of that character they came as, or you feel mesmerized by how intricate they made their costume. They're not pets. Don't just run up and touch their costumes. If you absolutely need to feel the kind of material their masks are made out of, ask permission first. Also remember that cosplaying is art, and if you worked months on making a piece of art, would you just want anyone to run up and get their hands on it? 19. Leave props alone. In the same vein of not touching someone else's costume, don't pick up someone else's prop either. But this prop isn't attached to their body. It shouldn't be as offensive. To reiterate, cosplaying is art, and that prop is not only part of their costume, but also their belongings, not yours. Like we said, if you appreciate the time and effort someone put into making their own Gandalf staff, or you haven't seen such a realistic-looking lightsaber ever, you still just can't go and pick it up. 18. Watch out for your badge. A lot of fandom conventions cost a lot of money, especially the bigger ones like Comic-Con. That being said, there's some people out there that get desperate when it comes to attending these things, so keep an eye on your badge. If not to just keep it safe from thieves, but if it happens to fall somewhere and no one ever sees it again, that's hundreds of dollars down the drain. And remember to make sure they stay visible for the people whose job it is to admit you into events and panels. They deal with hundreds and even thousands of people at these things. Make their jobs a little easier and have them ready. 17. Caution when staging cosplay duels. Watching a cosplay duel can be immensely entertaining and perhaps even more fun if you and your friends participate in one. Or maybe you came across someone dressed as the antagonist to your character. Then you absolutely have to fight. Just remember that you need to be extra careful with this sort of activity. Don't stage a duel in a super crowded place where there's barely room to turn around. Make sure you both stand on steady ground. Try to steer clear of where lots of people will be exiting and entering, such as entrance doors, restrooms, escalators, and elevators. 16. Be sparing with your autographs. What we mean by that is, don't bring everything in your comic book collection for panelists and other artists to sign. For one, at any convention, there's a lot of walking involved, and you don't want to be bogged down by the weight of all your things with you because you wanted to get it all signed. You also need to think of how long it would take someone to sign all those things. In turn, you'd be holding up everyone else's line and other people's time. 15. All those long lines. This photo was taken at WonderCon in 2009, and it's a common image at conventions around the world. If something's popular, lots of people will be there. And at conventions that include a conglomeration of different books, movies, shows, and games, there's gonna be even more people there. If you're not ready for the crowds and the lines, maybe you shouldn't attend. Of course, it can be frustrating to wait for such a long time, but do be prepared to do so anyway. Go the extra mile and research ways you can cut around lines with passes and badges, and by just showing up early. 14. Avoid any arguments. Look, factors such as most cons being in the summer, you stuck in a restricting stormtrooper suit, or the guy in front of you cutting in line or taking a reserved seat can all contribute to you going a bit crazy. Things can get heated, as evidenced at that one time at Comic-Con where one guy stabbed someone else in the eye with a pen while fighting over a seat for the Resident Evil panel. Be reasonable and don't get into any verbal or physical arguments about the small stuff. 13. Mind your prop. So you spent hours putting together that amazing staff so you can go as a Dota 2 Nature's Prophet. It looks amazing, but it also doesn't deserve its own seat while you watch the next panel. Think about how hard you're gonna go when it comes to costume accuracy. And if you can't handle holding that thing in front of you so that it doesn't obstruct anyone else's view, don't make one. 12. Beware the big costumes. Sometimes an elaborate and accurate costume means a character has huge wings like Hawkgirl or Archangel, and you'll be walking around with wing props on your back that measure nearly the size of your own body. With costumes like that, you need to be constantly aware of the space you enter and even how fast you turn around. If you think about all the things you might not be able to do with a certain costume choice, it might be time to rethink what you want to cosplay as before you get the arts and crafts and online orders ready. 11. Remember to eat. Just as there will be long lines to do anything at places like Comic-Con, there will also be long lines for the food. And since you will be walking a lot, you need to remember to eat. Sure, you can wait outside that long line to get to the Taco Bell food truck, or you can go outside of the convention to grab some food. After all that fast food, your stomach might not stay so silent during a really awesome reveal during the Game of Thrones panel. Stay nourished as best as you can so you can enjoy your really expensive experience as much as you can. 10. Be mindful, stay clean. Being stuck in long lines means being close to lots of people, and in that proximity, you know who forgot to wear deodorant or shower that morning. Be mindful of how many people you'll be encountering and how all those layers to your costumes might cause you to sweat. Don't forget to wear antiperspirant, not only for your own sake, but in consideration for the people around you. 9. Walk calmly. Please, whatever you do, do not stampede. While it sounds fun and thrilling to rush towards something or someone with the whole crowd, don't stampede. If most people listen to the rule to not stampede, there wouldn't even be a stampede. Just a handful of those people who did not listen and decided to run. Stampedes are simple by nature. You see something you like and you run, yet it can be incredibly dangerous. 8. No live streaming. Even if you would love for your fellow fans to know what's going on at any one convention, not every event welcomes live streaming from the devices of individual attendees. You see that stuff all the time, especially when it comes to leaked trailers. At huge events like Comic-Con, the convention authorities explicitly state you are not allowed to live stream anything in the programming room. You also can't bring drones to take footage of anything and obstruct the airspace either. 7. Ask permission for photos. As you should respect what the convention asks of you, you should also not just take photos or film videos of other people's costumes without asking first. Most of them probably will not mind as they know they made these costumes for a public setting. But it's just courtesy and kindness to ask their permission for you to take a photo, even if you don't necessarily want to be in the photo with them and you just want them to pose. 6. Know the rules. We already mentioned how you shouldn't plan on live streaming the things you pay to see at conventions. And a great way to remember not to do that is to look at the rules. Most conventions will have a list of what you can and cannot do if you want to remain at the events and not get kicked out or reprimanded for your actions. This is not only good to just avoid technicalities that will get you in trouble, but also let you know what's appropriate to bring. Some events will prohibit balloons or drones or anything that takes up airspace. Some props might not even be allowed. Stay up to date and know the rules. 5. Be nice. Everybody can attend a cosplay and fandom convention, if they have enough money of course, but not everyone can be as elaborate in their cosplay as you can. Either they just didn't feel the need to be as dedicated, or maybe they just couldn't afford it. Not all of us can be like Robop and make this realistic looking Raven Dungeons & Dragon cosplay, but whatever their reason is for having a cheap version of a costume, it doesn't do anyone good to harass anyone. The same goes for any kind of argument you find yourself in when it comes to inner fandom drama. Sure, some debate is fun, but when it gets closer to name-calling, it's time to just walk away. 4. Inter-fandom drama. That brings us to our next point. Maybe you get along with everyone in your fandom, but then you attend a convention where there will be all sorts of fans there. Don't revert to a high school mentality and gang up to bully the Twilight fans. We get it. We don't understand either. Are there even still Twilight fans? Anyways, play nice. We're all here to express our love for our fandoms, and you don't know if they've already addressed all the problematic things about the source material and have their own reasons for celebrating it anyways. 3. Have fun. That goes without saying, right? But you'll be amazed how all that bullying on the internet over an Avengers trailer can make its way onto real life. In recent news, psychologists suggest that belonging to a fandom and engaging in that space with other people is good for your mental health because it gives you a sense of community. Don't take anything too seriously, and just revel in an environment where there's people who love the same movies, comics, books, and games that you love. 2. Artists are people too. You would think it'd be common sense to remind people that artists, celebrities, and the like are people. They're not ancient gods that you give your attention to in return for equal attention or gifts. We talked earlier about how you shouldn't bring all your fandom things for one person to sign. That same idea applies to just taking up a celebrity's time when you meet them. If they're up for an extended conversation with you, then awesome. If not, try not to take it personally, as the names attending these events are super busy. Don't have too much fun that you disrespect those around you either. even the rich ones. 1. Stay hydrated. Do not forget to drink a sufficient amount of water. Whether it be because you stood outside in the hot sun for hours to get inside, you are walking around hall to hall all day, or because you drank too much at some after party, it's a good idea to always stay hydrated, especially if you have a particularly heavy armored Batman suit on.